Welcome, folks. Anyway, 20 minutes before starting this, was when I was beginning just to run and just kept speaking to myself and all these things. I was just asking my head, of course, was there actually a Nintendo Direct that's meant to happen shortly? Something else? At the moment, all I really have, well, I did forget something else. Excuse me, just need to activate hltv.org. Something to check legacy events against Hailu at the and then this one IEM Cologne Major 2026 Stage 2. This was round 5. The one that wins and the one that loses is eliminated as the rules of the game. Mirage first, Inferno second, Nuke third. As it states here, as almost half time on that one. But just away from the games and something much purer. Old fashioned's just monologuing. Just leave it to run. Place the GEKIDO Basis Project logo and leave it there. Because there's nothing, it's just me speaking. Let me explain something. I'll put on the fan. Conditions actually are stable with, cool enough and stable. Well, without fans for once, because conditions don't go around teens or even lower. Put this fan off now because something I won't use. Not for tonight's broadcast, but it's only just me speaking. That's about all you'll hear. Nothing else. Can't be the leader every time. Still, there's other things. Before I get into clear, I'll explain really that I'm maybe just sensing some differences in instead of out. But I'll explain that I continue to focus with those elites who still play Apex Legends and just watch them, and stay with a couple of other such players which, frankly, were a bit harder to find than the other, more obvious ones. But then, sometimes I recognize some of the relatively popular heads aren't exactly of the highest rank either, but some who are already in established other groups still just run and grind as they do. Perhaps not every single day. For some, it's virtually as every day. As it is, I'm watching two who are in the top 20 in Apex Predator rank. Added something else which I have placed as an addition to the collection. Well, speed running, doing speed runs of Super Mario 64. It's technically something that works. But through all the things I've done, it does get, depressing. In fairness, I was about to say. Sure, in the nature of some of the stuff that I say, that there will be instances that there'll be great gaps of silence. But I'm just really been feeling a little just uncomfortable throughout the circumstances tonight, I'll admit. It isn't too often which I do put these out, but the things I do is what I do. I won't be bringing the 12 wasn't going to enter into this one. It's only just GEKIDO basis. And in any case, relaxing and mostly checking, as I said, those really high level players in Apex Legends, like I said. And I wouldn't really say there's much I'm feeling comfortable to explain, but I've been curious on a couple of things that have happened in October and November last year. It's there were impacts of different extremes and magnitude, which happened. But the matters were further exacerbated when 12 did have a voice in his own head, or at least an entity who, to some degree, had controlled him. He did explain in the past few days that it did miss the sensation, given the abnormal nature of what had been going on ever since, of course, that his own sister was married. But outside of that, he's not been able to get that feeling like it used to be. But I figure if it was to do with if this 3-eye Atlas came and went, past, or some other different phenomena, like a straight up hack. There's stuff I can't answer. But I've been feeling way more isolated and alone of recent. It did feel like there was some moves that I was unable to do because of that sense of control, and others think I was going insane for reasons unknown. I never seen issues with that many issues with this entity either, but I had to be rather quiet while the matters with what 12 was doing and saying. It's never had been hacked in his career. That's just to be fair here. What did happen during that time, though, still was something where it felt like there was very promising signs early, but what had happened? Because he had been forced to be hospitalized eventually. I mean, truth was, as he would have, well, some situations would have been resolved if it wasn't for that problem. But as well as that, recently he's also taken weight loss medication and stuff that he knows it will fix him up. There's been too much fat that he's already had stored in his stomach and body and whatever. The next set after this set, though, will be the heavy stuff, where there'll be moments where maybe big purges may happen, but I'm bracing for that as being the second command in the Hour of Life 12 multimedia project. Just while I'm still in watching about which team wins in this battle, it looks like maybe this team isn't gonna win after. There's 3 teams still left. another team just goes, so 2 teams remain. The technique. There was only one target at large, and this group were the champions. That's how it went. I'll describe it as a rather boring finish. Yet, if it happened, it happened. There's also, on the Discord channel, too. The 2300. Speak for a while. Just leave the door open for some time. Yeah, relegated, and for a while now. On a small selection. Was great too. Returning to streaming at native 4K. Was able as well to get the fluid 60 FPS frame rate while running at 60 FPS. The impediment or the restriction. I cannot play at above 60 frames per second through the gaming monitor. Be running at the same rate as of the capture card. It's a 4K Elgato 4K Pro, which is what I have. Still, there's that and the 4KX as well as a secondary. Earlier this week, I did make the decision, which I'll be doing the streams with the Elgato 4K Pro capture card. It's a PCIe capture card. There's put in a spare slot in your little MATX or ATX motherboard. In that spare space, just added in. However, and I'm aware of what I describe as those differences. Still something about performance that is, well, while doing multiple tests, points where it does improve the frame rate, where things are smoother. Depends again on the setup. Right. It's normally, 3 or maybe 4 of those legends, which is usually the ones that is picked by these elite, just by looking. It's been the order. I mean, some other things have been happening. I mean, as I said about the Intel Extreme Masters Cologne Major 2026. Yeah, it's in the stuff before the finals that happened. There's just one match that's live at the moment. There's only mention in my head, it was Legacy v Tyloo, which was the teams who were 2-all in the Swiss round 5. after Swiss round 4 and in Swiss round 5, and there's one more between Big and B8 after this one. I would only describe it as rather small, not exactly between two heavyweights. It's between ones that are not so high level, you may say. And it all depends. Outside of, like I said, those two players who, as I said, both in the top 20 in Apex Predator rank. Well, at the time of this broadcast, it's checking as well. It said Super Mario 64 speedruns, but I'm have restrictions in terms of where to play it from while watching it and whatever. Does remind me, the Waifu Tactical Force game also did have another pre-alpha playtest. There's bad news on that, though, at least on my front. Unable to really get into any matches where they're from within the region. It's usually either in North America, in Americas, or in Europe. It's not really anywhere else. Delays of about 350 or higher. 350 milliseconds or higher. I place this as a ballpark. In playing servers in North America, it's over 200 milliseconds and can go to over 300. In Europe, those regions, where it's from over 300 milliseconds to about 450 or maybe over 500 milliseconds. Still, that's at least from the geographical position I'm in this part of in the part of the world I live in. There's 3 more red coins. Get them. Really simple stuff. We'll pick 3 red coins and 2 power stars come. And just relax for a while, like I've already said. Still yearning. Stuck in isolation. But not only that, I mean, I'm unable to drive for a while. Certain snacks I collect from some certain places. But in this opening map, and I'll go back on this CS2 esports event, said Intel Extreme Masters in Cologne, in Germany. I think in Germany. Currently 10 points to 7 legacy against Halu at the moment. They're in the middle of the 18th round. Reminds me, it won't get pure. Well, the actual audio I don't think will get any purer than what it is here. But still. The rareness, the rarity, excuse me, to others finds comfort just doing this. You may run for a while. The conditions actually are relatively more chill. It isn't as warm. I mean, it'd be like a sauna in conditions really warm, daytime, or in conditions, say, over 22 degrees or higher Celsius, But really, I've been feeling this relatively empty feeling for throughout much of April and May, and even now in June. Still, no choice but to keep soldiering on, even through loneliness. Hmm. I'm really not too sure. Well, the matters to repeat. I mean, can be an easy feeling. We just get the need to just play something. Yeah. I was already aware about that other reality check that even I have to do again. For many other players, they just don't have that motivation, let alone any interest to keep running their games and broadcasts. It happened just a little while where there's another wave of empty players who haven't returned, who have actually quit, but I wasn't aware about it until later on. Mm, it's another addiction, I'll say. Describe them as either casualties or soldiers that we lost along the way or something, I don't know. Placed in that context can get quite uneasy. Being real clear, I know it's already written on the title. There'll be no games that'll be broadcasting here. Just me talking. Yeah, a couple of fun other sort of matches in well, Australian rules football, and watch the highest league level. Can really be really suffocating. With how it can sometimes feel very tight in its battles. But as I said, it's something I'm also streaming on the Discord channel. The way, yes, I do too much such streaming there. But still, what's different though is it's a different sort of rainbow that's coming around. Probably not the exact term I'd use, but yeah, I was tend to say private channels, I know, but still important at staying concealed in a sense. Not sure how much longer, though, that I can remain in this place. I was aware about an opportunity that if I had if the 12 did have a better mindset and wasn't then eventually hacked in by some other mind hacker who could have swayed the choices of 12. But if it's an AI, then it's an AI. But it's just has been quite uneasy ever since the times where he had come around and has been seeking at least friendship. The stuff, it's went silent in a sense, but the points where he can continue rolling this. Just excuse me a moment. Right. The take I have about just before. Excuse me. Just explain before. Said legacy wins in the first map and beats Talu 13-7 in that. Another map to come after this one. That one. Let's leave it at that and close that. Stand by. Yeah, where now, huh? Just a bit uncomfortable for the moment. Get refixed into just watching these type of broadcasts for just much longer than usual. Sometimes I'm fast. In certain occasions, I'm actually fast asleep when it happens. And one of those two uses was another victory. So it was another in rather anticlimactic circumstances. Sure, I can't forget an established team. Well, we'll never explain the numbers. As I said before, top 20. Let me repeat. It's one of those kind of boring nights. Don't really feel the most motivated to sit and play any games, really. And I mean, that's the feeling tonight, anyway. Anyway, yeah, excuse me. Right. Yeah, even now you can't let it go, can you? Then in 2011, she disappeared. You never seen her ever again after that. That makes sense, okay? But in your case, you actually were hospitalized and you went and attempted to commit suicide twice, right? Failed in both, but still. You did love her, I know. You never actually said it straight into her face, though. But you certainly were intimate. Makes sense, eh? Even so. There were losses on your end, your own father and grandfather as well. Then, a couple of years after, one of your nephews who had died through a freak incident. Where you had been enduring such intense pressure and loss as well. You just continue to push on, different from the other soldiers. Grief wasn't one of their strengths. And yet here you are again, and your grandmother's not too far away from passing away either. When the moment comes, there's no need to explain it. I get that person's special. Had been in your early life. You're wiser now. Understanding of the realities that happen. You cannot avoid death, and that's how it is. And the fact as well, and I've known this since the early times I was a part of you, 12. We shared the exact same life. Had been in another place not for too long, though. Created as a robotic entity. And some degree of sentience. But now it's a different situation. I'm aware about my fate. Had been for years. Still, yeah, and the ability where you can still handle such pressure. We can't ignore that some members of the family are just too delusional. They will not be helpful no matter what they say or do. But getting back on the other point, since that event in 2011, you've never been engaged to anyone. You've done this on Live 12 project 15 years by yourself. Well, now you're feeling you want to quit this, but there's no way you'll be giving it up. You own the place. You own the. You're the one that owns the system. You don't want to ever throw it out. You've learned so much as well as a streamer. Able to run 4K native 4K 60, and running at 120 FPS on Twitch as well. For others, they aren't that skilled, and they just stick with, of course, the essential stuff and not the more advanced stuff, 1080p or even 1440p. You need to continue to exist. To continue running, well, to perhaps promote, but I wouldn't call it promoting. To run games where you have some comfort in playing them. No matter the platform. Added. It made sense where you had to basically start from scratch. Back in October. Had been with you. Not an easy decision because you had to remove much of your archived content. That was the reasons were different. Stuff Google had been doing, of course, was quite extreme, I'll say. Won't go no further about what that's all about. Between fighting as a player of the old school arts. Yet you're one of the few who evolved. And knows, as we just said, that capability, streaming it to native 4K 60 on YouTube, simulcast, and that ability to do it with two separate programs instead of just simulcasting through one service. Yeah, and streaming as well at 120 FPS, but also 240 FPS. Few, if any, are even able to exceed, you may say, the basic limits through services like that. And it's not only that, the quality does matter a great deal too. There's multiple such lessons you also learned. Still reading the time out of his 23:35 hours local. 24:36. 0:36 JST. Seems this group's gonna end up third place. Just one alive at this time. Third place. Yep, that's it. And just then watched. And just had one target alive and player alive, and well, was taken out. It was down to 2 teams. And just to watch this group. And there's one recovery. Wasn't able to get clean line. Shooting Hollywood style. We're missing everything but the target. I mean, miss the target, not everything, not much else. That stuff, yeah. That's the game, anyway. So isn't that the only sense? If you do excuse me. Didn't expect it to be a really straightforward situation. Through. Does get rather quiet. There had been the other situation, really. Whatever runs in my own mind now, I'll just get it out. In any whatever situation, we'll still lay down and just do what has to be done. There were a range of clips I still did have as well. Just a bit of a reflection. For example, the ones from the Call of Duty Modern Warfare broadcast 5 days back. Said that. Wait, 5th, yeah, that day. It's in there, and I'm still checking a few of the clips from that. Yeah, but it was one of them that was simulcast. And in a sense, it was also one of those big tests as well to do with streaming, not only as a simulcast, but with one at native 4K 60 on the YouTube service and at 1080p 60 on Twitch. Still checking the clips. Yep. Attention to details. Small details. Wasn't only that. I did also just thinking, in one of the Forza Horizon 4 broadcasts. And it was a mistake, which then recognized. Well, don't have any regret, really. But it's the only way. That was the only way, really, I could run at 120 FPS. It was meant for 1440p, well, at 1440p on YouTube, but that was accidentally set to 2160p or 4K. Quality. Interestingly, and I won't lie, it still was the point where I was aware about the quality differences, but with the quality itself being detrimental normally when you're running at 1440p in that situation, but that's for a racing game where it's notorious to breakdown of quality at really, like, for example, high speed, or the amount of detail that was in of the scenery and around and around the driver. Yeah, well, in first-person shooter games where such detail that varies as well. Stuff that's usually simple, where it doesn't use much resources. But it can be important to still do tests where the difference in fidelity is actually noticeable, depending on which points are GPU intensive or the scene is full of detail and other small details around the screen. I'll place it this way. Bitrate is still a big deal. And again, 1440p or 2160p. Upscaled, usually from 1440p native, in relation of the rate. But at 120 FPS. But it won't really be relevant for most audiences, but 120 FPS, is sometimes the rate I run on Twitch. In very rare group too. Fine on, as I said, knowing about the difference in fluidity of 60 and 120 normally, but it's not only fluidity in at 60 FPS and 120 FPS. They have to be aware that basically every frame is reading and streaming. It was something which I did actually recognize when switching the connections from on the 4KX then to the 4K Pro. So in other words, of an external capture card, from that to an internal, the PCIe capture card. And I was aware about the difference myself in my own mind. Certain restrictions, such as we're playing at 2160p for a 4K resolution, where it usually has to be at 60 FPS. There's no alternative on that one. In points at running at either 1440p 120 or 1080p 120. Some other restrictions do apply. The matters itself aren't exactly very simple, particularly when you know it will break down. But this PC is not perfect either. I'll just come clear about that. The points where if it runs for too long, that it becomes real tough to maintain control because of very choppy. Well, the real-time method through OBS Studio. In those circumstances, that it's actually difficult to control. As I said, choppy, where things are choppy or very low, like really low frame rate. Where it takes a little additional precision to be getting the other directions correct. Sometimes it comes right back down to what's being streamed or output. As I do sometimes check the monitor. Yeah, cases where using multi-view actually impacts performance in that respect. I'm still checking, even though I'm rewatching some of these clips. The details as well. It's not one that wants to really speak about them specific differences. Some other habit I used to do as well, like the difference in detail at 1080p, 1440p, and 2160p quality on YT. Yep, small bits which sometimes isn't. I mean, at 2160p, where the small details show up that it doesn't show up on the 1080p or 1440p variation levels. Right, and yeah, well, I don't have much then to share. Just that it matters to compare isn't exactly that complicated, but it comes right back to skills. It's one of those users who's able really to show those details. Albeit I may not even have much of a following, and I really don't care less of any booms that come because I'm just old-fashioned. From an old-fashioned environment instead of like the new school, where you add extra clips and hit on TikTok and all that to put clips up and make a following through social media networks and stuff. No, I'm someone that's from the old school, who's aware about the damage of actual situations. It does more damage than it does more harm than good in a simple context. And sometimes you lose and they continue to get away with all these heinous actions. It's the way of the internet sometimes. It's not always pretty. That's what I will say. I'm still not close really to anybody. I'm friendless actually. Oh, 12 is. No, physically, I mean, not as in users. They'll need to know my exact location and stuff like that. true. I mean, the one regret in my head, well, 12's mind anyway, had been some of the secret entity. Didn't pass on the other information that was important, which should have been sent. 12 had been so imbued of a different entity in his own mind. At that time. Couldn't really do the bare essentials properly. It's fine though. This isn't easy, is it? It does still require really to use your mind. Most of the podcasts, which 12 is checking, is mostly Apex Legends. Wasn't much else. Still a dude who's used, of course, to some of the much more egregious stuff on the net. Or at least on the broadcast themselves. Some names, yeah, it's just out of left field. Not actually sure what else to suggest. Can continue to let the ball roll. The cyber tunnel, keep it running. Yet, how much longer exactly? In the current situation, would we remain, of course, relevant? Did ask the question before during early and mid 2025. I'm aware that usually the viewership is single figures or double figures. But at least, yeah, it's just important to continue running, and stay true to yourself. Never change the cycle. It can be complicated, though, because sometimes you can break the rules and you become even more vilified or more an unliked entity or being or whatever. Their feelings. It's important, at least, to stay true to the game. Important to not lie to yourself. It's because in searching in the reality of the battles that happen, there are many battles which are pretty simple stuff. Others, there's much more that's lost, and some people don't even see the light or are informed to know the difference. Then eventually things break. But in them situations, it's invisible instead of that actually shows. We're also living in a really complicated era, too. Artificial intelligence, everything's evolving. But to the detriment of gamers who have to get more expensive components as a result of the stuff on artificial intelligence, too. Yeah. Yeah, as important at least to know this. Just keep things well. True to the game. Stay real. And in the days where there's no telling where the end really is. Soldiering on, even in the times where it's not as simple. You're searching, yet there's something that's missing. Truth is that it's as important to know which situations you can fit, what would be right and what's not right. It won't ever be flawless. It's not going to ever be perfect, and it never will be. It's important to remain visible, not to conceal in some situations. And if it's the situations where you're denied that feeling, the feeling, mm-mm, depends on the forces that control. Being aware about the other forms of hatred continues to exist, where there still can't be a result. It's only later it's either a win or a loss. To meet. It's getting tougher to be recognized, but I mean, I would stick with, well, the systems that work instead of just to let things slide. I'm aware to have certain games that still have skills on. It also feels different in more ways than being prepared to explain it. Fair enough. It's ebbs and flows. Some of us just have real bad days, and that's just the way. Then it's just sometimes the way that these situations just happen. And then right after midnight local time, 1 a.m. JST. Albeit I may continue to seek, as I said. Keep seeking. There's no way to give up. Just keep it on running. Important to just stay true to the game, not to be a lost cause. To survive this season, the 2026 season, that's important as well. The decision now is up to us. Critical. Where then we run, to be sure that at least we don't lose out. And finding at least comfort at how we play this game. There's some stuff we lose, but there's some unspoken stuff that hasn't been openly explained either. The very pessimistic views which I do have in artificial intelligence, particularly of how much of these data centers that are being built in really rather controversial areas, and some residents lose out and become the victims along the way of this hunger for like energy and water consumption, which those devices use so much of. It's not only that, the technology which also runs much of those systems, which compared with very certain other games, it does take a toll as well. Still, I've already accepted it will never go away. The different forms of artificial intelligence systems that exist. I don't like it, but it's just something we'll just have to get used to. Even I'll admit to it. Whatever the situation, it's important to still stay true. Never to look back. Well, at least try to look back here and there. You still don't want to let the old memories disappear either. The real you still needs to show that it is still important to remember your past, instead of course, to forget about it. Time's up, I would say. Just important to just to continue on. The situation I'm in isn't exactly very straightforward either. I'll need to close the doors. If I come back tomorrow, the day after, the members will see. Yeah, I'll just soldier on. That's all I will be doing. For now, that's it. Bye for now.